Good morning. It's July 18th. Ron's not here today. It's just myself. So I'll be doing his portion of the presentation. I have a license agreement with Ron to utilize his materials. The agreement requires me to share this notice. I do have his written permission to utilize his products in this manner. And here's our standard disclaimer that we go over every month. It's there to remind you that this is for educational and information purposes only and is not to be construed as providing investment advice. You and you alone are responsible for how you evaluate and utilize the information that you learned today. Our agenda is to look at the market forecast. Then we'll spend some time reviewing the second quarter trade alert results, and then we've got a new module in PyVisions called Trade Manager, and I was going to preview part of that for you. And this is where I normally say, take it away, Ron, but Ron's busy with some renovation going on in his kitchen today. So this is the settings that we established back in January for the forecast tool to utilize this year. Interest rates being down, unemployment rate being up. The price of oil was believed to be flat with a flat GDP growth rate. A weaker US dollar. We're in the second presidential year. The consumer sentiment being flat and Cedric chart being AB. And what that did is that it produced a forecast for the year. And we see that trend is up, a continuation of what we've seen in the last few years. The forecast was yield about a 13 to 14% increase for the year. And leaving those settings in place and then tracking the actual performance year to date, we can see that we had the big dip in April with the kickoff to the Iraq conflict. But then it's recovered and actually exceeded what the forecast was. It's pulled back down, and it's this past 2 months has kind of had a fairly good correlation to what the forecast is. The drop on Friday has got us just right below what that forecast line was. So we did not play with any modifications to the factors because it's kind of tracking along with what the forecast is. So looking at this chart, we can see that we should have a kind of a consolidation phase starting to emerge here at the end of July through August with a blip up mid-September, back down, leading into fairly consistent push up through November and December. And then if you look at the outlook, which is a different algorithm, it's not based upon what those economic factors are, we can see that it's somewhat similar into what the forecast shows, with a consolidation taking place primarily here in August and September. We can see, it goes up and it kind of comes back down, but still it's a sideways movement there for those 2 months. But we see that the 50-day moving average held back there in June, and optimistic that it's going to hold from the drop on Friday, which is down to the 50-day moving average. So that kind of concludes this portion. Are there any questions?
I think we're pretty well on track for what
Yeah.
was predicted.
Right. All right. We'll move into the performance numbers. In the second quarter, we skipped 2 weeks, which leaves us with 33 trades initiated. And out of those, 26 trades made a profit, earning a total of $4,168. However, we had three losing trades, and those were we lost $36, $178, and $21. So we've still got four trades open that we've got in trade management right now, trying to work our way to profitable end on those. Two of our trades were closed below the strike price. They had enough downside protection that they were profitable. It's not uncommon for us to see that take place. In the quarter, 21 trades were finished in the same week that they started. That's a rate of 64%. We'd like that number to be a little bit better, a little bit higher, but still it's well within what we track and what our performance has been. 29 of the 33 trades are closed. That's an 88% closing rate. The win rate is the ratio of winners and losers. We want that to be high, and 90% is a good number. The weekly return looks at the capital required for all 33 positions. That includes the capital for those trades that are still open. The total days of those positions and the profit from those positions. The longer we're in a position, the lower this percentage becomes. Hence, we've learned it's better to keep the holding time of our positions short. And the greatest percentage of profit is generated in that first week to 2 weeks. So I'd like to keep that holding time short. The average return does not take into account the holding time. So it's just simply the profit divided by the capital. So that's a higher number because it's not looking at the time value. The total return does take into account the average capital, which is the position size, and the average days of holding, considering a 3-month period of total return of 13% for these covered calls and cash secured puts. And this will obviously change as we close those other open positions. You can see that we updated the closed positions that took place there in the first quarter, and you can see that there's some negative numbers here for the first quarter. Just to give you a backdrop, the S&P 500 declined 4.3% in the first quarter, and most of that was concentrated in March. February was basically flat. So, like I said, we booked some of those losses now as we've closed that stuff out. But still, year to date, we're still positive. So that first quarter did not cause us to have a bad year. And we've certainly done better here in the second quarter. So we still got third quarter and fourth quarter to work our way through. Optimistic that that can be positive. We always like to remind you about the trade alert service, and that is you need to do additional due diligence. Don't just solely rely on the VTAM signal. Your plan for success, our plan was to sell in the money calls or at the money calls because the probability of assignments are higher there as opposed to going out of the money. All successful trading rules include taking losses, and you've seen that we've done that. And then we plan for our exits. We keep track of the stop loss points, and then we have a strategy for mitigating those losses in terms of looking at other opportunities for better returns. Any questions on the performance? Well, then we're working our way through this all pretty quick. The last thing on the agenda is Pi Visions. Just to kind of give you an idea of what we've done, current version is version 1.4.12. 13 actually came out this morning. But as of last night, we were at 1.4.12. We bumped 90 versions in the past month. So we've continued to work a lot on it. The major items that we worked on this past month, we've got the Trade Manager module that we filled in, and we'll talk about that after this. And then we've improved the caching and performance improvement in the code. We did some validation work, spent about 3 days going through the P of A formula, making sure that we had the correct days to expiration in all the different areas of the code, proofing all that information. We hardened the security of the application. It being a public document, we needed to make sure that there were not ways to hack into the program or into the data that's there. So we've spent some time going through security processes, and then just in general, some housekeeping and the way information's presented on the screen, had some cleanup items to that. Which leads me into the Trade Manager demo that we want to go through. I'll get it up here on the screen. So this is the program. You can see here the version that we're running.
Not showing.
It's not showing. That's because I'm not sharing.
Well,
It would help if I shared, right?
it probably would. Other than it's nice visiting with you.
Yeah, okay, there we go. Here we go. How's that?
Yep.
Much better.
All right, so like I said, we pushed out version 13 this morning. Last month we talked about call options, search engine, and we had another module here which was called the income generator. And Ron and I spent some time talking back and forth about that. And the plan was to build a put option, put income generator. But in the end, we kind of said, you know what? It made sense that both of those income generators are like Trade Planner. They're tools that you use. So we took all the work that was on those and we created Trade Manager. So if you go into Trade Manager, it's probably better for me to go to the Trade Alert account. If you just hold on a second. I mean, I don't mind showing you my trades, but Trade Alert. And of course, it looks pretty similar to my trades, but it'll be the actual numbers that are in the Trade Alert. So we've got these open positions. These are positions that are open. You can see the date that it was open. They are displayed in alphabetical order. I'm actually thinking about turning it around and have it displayed by date order. But anyway, right now it's alphabetical. And then you've got a needs attention box. And then you've got a new position box. The need attention, it'll tell you exactly what's happened, and that is that in these cases, we can see that the expiration has passed and it's time to take action on it. You need your attention. And if you want to create a new position, you enter the ticker, choose the type trade that it is, and then you hit the add position, and it'll create a new position, and then you can go through the process of inputting the information to it. So we can see here that the call that we had expired, and so now it's time to make adjustments to it. So you would go into it. We would change that to being call expired, update that row. And then you see here in green, this kind of follows a pattern that we had in Trade Alert. And this, I've already hit the plan next trade button, but what that does is that it plans, it uses an algorithm that we've written to go through and to determine what our next call is to sell. And then it'll populate that. So it says in this case, we go out a week to the 24th, keeping our strike at 114. I'm picking up some nice premium. And then we've got the information up here at the top that tells you a little bit about it. So this is a covered call on now, 100 shares. That's what it closed at. We keep track of our break-even price. The sell-on loss point is determined when the trade is initiated. It uses the sell-on gain and sell-on loss price from the VTEM settings, and it applies it to the current price, and it keeps it constant. This is different than what the chart program will show, because in the chart program we have the squeeze that takes place, and sometimes we enter positions at a hold buy. And so rather than confusing and making it all complex like that, we just simply said, find out what the sell-on gain, sell-on loss percentages are, and apply that to our dashboard up here. We'd like to know what our net premium is. That's just a summation of the column here of the option premiums that have been sold and any dividends that have come in. That'll reflect there. And then here's the income, that being the amounts that we've generated from this position. So that's what it is. This would
Guys,
this would be changed to no longer planned. This is executed, and that call is open. Update the row, and there we are. Now we're set for the week. Saves automatically whenever you go back, but there is a save button at the bottom. TQQQ, that was our put that we had. What the trade alert's going to show is taking assignment of that put, and then this is the call that the program came up with. Let's change that back to the 17th. This is now executed, and that call is open. Update the row. You've got the ability to export the file. You can import previous positions if you have it in the right format. And the way to get the right format is right here under File Templates. We've got Excel as well as number templates. and you have the ability to set your fees, your commissions. You can input what your brokerage firm has for the actual rates, or you can use the default, which is no fees.
I gotta get one little thing, I got a little bit more spackle.
Oh,
Okay, one step, and you wanna look me back, you can.
So that's the
I'm sorry.
that's what that looks like. Um, so then we'd go back to positions. So now we've cleared up all the items that needed to be done. If you need to review any of the trades that you have, you can just click on that. There they are. So it's a way to keep not only keep the records on your positions, but as you see here, we've got this plan next trade button, and that's active anytime. So we could say, okay, let's say that it's Thursday. This is going to expire. You're trying to think about what to do next. You can click that plan next trade button and it'll do that. I think unique. One of the reasons why on the type trade, the reason we made a difference between naked puts and cash secured puts is the algorithms. In the case of a naked put, it will always roll the put. It always rolls the put for a naked put. It never evaluates taking assignment. On the case of cash secured puts, it will evaluate whether to roll the put or to take assignment. So if you sell a cash secured put at the end of that first week, it evaluates, do we roll it or do we take assignment? And during the trading day, and I can't simulate this during the weekend, but during the trading day, whenever you click on the cash secured put, there'll be a box that shows up right under here, right under the plan next trade, and it'll say something to the effect of evaluate the position. And if you click that evaluation, it will go through and it'll determine what provides the highest return, whether rolling the put does or taking assignment. And that shows up on Thursday and Friday because we thought that, generally speaking, that Wednesday you're not evaluating those kinds of moves, but certainly on Thursday you're probably looking and thinking about that as well as on Friday. So during the market hours, that evaluation button will show up for you to evaluate for you to run the algorithm that evaluates it. So that's in a nutshell what that looks like, what that trade manager looks like. I've not tried using that or setting that up for spreads at this point, but somewhere down the road we do that. And of course, you can always go back into Trade Planner and you can do all these things in Trade Planner, but it's just a lot simpler as a tool to build together those positions, because it's keeping records like that is what I found to be the greatest time consumer. And now we've got this built into the Pi Visions to where it'll keep track of for you. When the position ends, there's when you say call assign, then it says, okay, I know the position's over. You're given the opportunity to truly close it, and then it'll go into closed positions. it'll actually say that you've got positions that are closed. I think, let me go back and look in my account. If you hold on just a second. I think, yeah. Let me share the screen again. So you can see it actually shows that you have closed positions. I've got these closed positions here. It's got a place to where you can keep track of, you can write some notes if you want to write a note. In my case, I write down what account it's in, what the trade was. So this was a trade alert trade. And then it'll stay in this closed for a year. It'll give you a warning after 11 months that you need to export the trades. And then you'll export those using the with the export CSV, that you'll export the file using that.
Okay, thank you.
So that's what you would do. You'd export those separated variable files, which you can then paste into a spreadsheet of your own if you want to keep track of things like that. But that's what it is. That's what it looks like. Any questions?
Good morning,
You
Ron.
answered you answered the question.
Hey, morning, guys. Sorry I'm a little late. Having some work done here, replacing our countertops.
Bob, you said you had a question, comment.
Yeah, I was going to ask if once the trade is closed, is that a permanent part of the record? But you answered that by saying it's there for a year, and then you'd have to save it from that to your own personal record.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. But, you know, I mean, a year is, we'll see how much. I mean, I've got limited storage space, so I didn't want to make it unlimited, but I wanted to at least give us some time to see how large the files are. They're very small JSON files, so they don't take up a lot of space. So I figured we could set it for a year and see how it goes.
Yeah, plus it's also good maybe to have a copy in Excel, right? I mean, that you know, you can unload it. So yeah, records forever is expensive.
Right. It can take up quite some time. But it's, you know, it's good to keep records. It's good to have the records and review your trades and study all that. And then the other thing I like is that it gives you the on those calls that you're selling, it'll tell you, it shows you what the returns are if if it expires, and then it's a running total there of what your return is if it's assigned. So you don't have to, you don't have to sit there and, I mean, you can do all that in a spreadsheet, but whenever you add a row in a spreadsheet, it doesn't automatically populate all those formulas and everything. This way it keeps track of the formulas for you. I mean,
Yeah.
And adding a row and adding a trade is so simple and so easy now. So I personally am finding it to be a great tool to have and use. Plus, it starts off giving you a suggested trade. So it's pulling all that information for you and giving you something that, gives you a starting place in terms of what to do. So often people are trying to, they're like, hey, I sold a call, it expired. What do I do next? Well, in Visions, that was a trade planner kind of a question, but then you also kind of had to have a spreadsheet that told you where you were, what your break evens were. And of course, you could, in the call search engine, you could always go into it and enter your purchase price, and then it updated everything for you. But having it in the record keeping style format, and it keeping track of your break even price, well as what your purchase price was, it's using the power of a computer, I felt like it was the natural evolution of Visions in terms of what you could do. So
Good
Well,
job, Tommy. Good job.
My problem of it is I did enough trades last year. My 1099 was 70 pages long.
Yeah.
25 years of playing Monopoly's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I guess so.
okay, any questions, comments?
Good job, Tommy. Good job. It's looking good.
You're
I've been
doing a good
trying
job.
to test it and find, little quirks here and there, but it's performing very well. So
And we
I
got a
suggest
weekend
everybody else,
cash.
if you run into something where you went through a sequence and something went wrong, kind of try to write that sequence down and let Tommy know, because if he can reproduce it, he can fix it for sure. So that's the key, being able to reproduce the problem. So, yeah. And even screenshots sometime help a lot too.
Yeah. Okay. And the last thing I put in the announcement for the invitation for the meeting is I'm looking at the last weekend in October as a possible weekend to get everybody together. And of course, this is the week that most everybody didn't make the meeting, but I'll send another email out, a separate one to everyone, to where we can just look at that and see if that weekend works for everyone. And if so, then I'll find a hotel down here near the airport, and we'll set up a 2-day, a Friday, Saturday thing to where we can get together and explore more about Pi Visions and what all it can do and how to use it. Okay.
Excellent idea.
Very good.
All right. Any closing comments by anyone? Sounds good then. Hope everybody has a good month, and we'll see you next month then.
Will do.
Thank you. Thank you, Sammy.
Bye.
All right.
Gotta go talk to the guy.
Back to the kitchen.
Thank you.